It was supposed to be another carefree summer at Grandma and Grandpa's countryside home, but weeks later, the children were gone. As the desperate search unfolded, no one imagined the horrifying truth. The family's warmest smiles were hiding a dark, murderous secret beneath the old barn. Daniel Miller always said his parents, Harold and Margaret Kent, were old-fashioned but loving. They lived on a sprawling piece of farmland in Brookhaven, Montana, the same house where Daniel grew up. Summers there meant fishing at dawn, chasing fireflies at night, and fresh pies cooling on the kitchen windowsill. Grace, Daniel's wife, trusted her in-laws completely. Harold adored teaching the kids how to ride bikes down the dirt path behind the barn, while Margaret spoiled them with home-baked cookies and bedtime stories. Every summer, Daniel and Grace would drive their 3 children, Emily, Aaron, and little Luke, to Grandma and Grandpa's for a few weeks. It was a tradition that made everyone happy. The kids loved the countryside adventures, and Daniel and Grace got some time to themselves in the city. That summer of 2016 was no different, or so it seemed. Daniel hugged his parents at the door, kissed his kids goodbye, and drove away smiling. What no one knew was that the bonds of trust holding this family together were about to be shattered, and the very people they believed loved their children most were about to become their greatest danger. When Daniel and Grace Miller dropped their 3 children off at their grandparents' countryside home for the summer, it was meant to be a holiday of bike rides, fishing trips, and baking cookies with Grandma. For weeks later, Daniel got a frantic call from his father, Harold Kent. Harold said, "They're gone, Danny. They're gone. The kids are gone." The grandparents claimed the children had been taken during the night. Police were called. Search teams combed the woods. For the next 2 years, Harold and Margaret Kent appeared at vigils, cried for the cameras, and begged the kidnappers to return the children. On August 4th, 2018, a barefoot, malnourished 12-year-old girl staggered into a gas station on the outskirts of town. The little girl said, "My name is Emily Miller. I've been missing for 2 years." Her statement stunned investigators. Emily claimed she and her 2 brothers had never left their grandparents' property. The kidnapping was a lie. They'd been locked in a hidden basement beneath the barn. A barn police had searched but never thought to dig under. The truth was worse than anyone imagined. Harold and Margaret were members of a shadowy apocalyptic cult with one twisted prophecy. A certain bloodline would rise up and destroy the cult forever. That bloodline was the Millers and several other families in nearby states. The cult's doctrine was clear. These children had to die, but not through direct violence. Their deaths had to be natural, so the prophecy would not be awakened. The Kent's method? Imprisonment, starvation, and malnutrition, slowly draining the children's strength until illness or weakness would finish the job. When police raided the barn, they found 3 children barely clinging to life. Emily and her brothers Aaron and Luke, for other emaciated children, all from families tied to the same bloodline and filthy mattresses, rotting food scraps, and a single bucket for waste. In a locked trunk, detectives found a ledger of names, over a dozen children marked pending or secured. Several names were already crossed out. During her arrest, Margaret reportedly smiled and said, "Margaret said it's better this way. We're stopping the prophecy before it stops us." The Kent's basement was just one piece of a larger operation. Evidence tied the cult to at least 9 other missing child cases. Authorities believe some of the children may still be held by other cult members. In court, Grace Miller broke down describing the moment she left her children with her parents. Grace said, "I thought they were safe. I never knew I was delivering them to their killers." The grandparents were convicted of kidnapping, conspiracy to commit murder, and child abuse. They were sentenced to life without parole. Emily, Aaron, Luke, and the other rescued children are under medical care, recovering slowly. Their physical wounds may heal, but the psychological scars run deep.